Well, in case you don't know, in fact, I didn't even know about this until I saw the Patreon exclusive Q&A that Pat Contra, aka the NES Punk, did. And one of the questions I asked him was, how he feels about Windows 10, and how it always loads and does things, while you're currently busy working on something. And he gave a proper answer, because apparently, with the answer he gave, the proper one, in my opinion, obviously I'm not alone in basically saying, yeah, Windows, you need to improve, and you need to improve big time. And I basically did a video talking about something like this a couple weeks ago, and now apparently I don't think it has anything to do with me talking about it, because I've heard rumors and reports throughout the years that Microsoft was planning to release a new version of Windows, and it looks like we are going to be getting that version. We are going to be getting that version this holiday season. That's the scheduled release date. That's the scheduled release date for Windows 11. However, during the presentation, some people from CNET and a few others noticed that the Windows 11 presentation was a little buggy. Yeah, Windows 11 was a little buggy, or at least the presentation for it. According to what they said, it was a little buggy. This is, CNET, if you will, said that it was a little buggy. Basically, during the presentation for it, the thing froze. The stream froze. The presentation froze. But hopefully they got enough time between now and this holiday season to work those bugs out. Or what they're going to have to do, and Microsoft better really show that they're stepping up and making up for a lot of mistakes they've made in the past with the Windows software, just like they've done with their video game consoles like Xbox. If I'm Microsoft, if I can't work out any issues or bugs by then, or at least as I get closer to that release date, then I hold back until 2022. I hold back to early spring 2022, and then potentially release it, because by then I should have enough of the bugs worked out. But Windows 11, apparently the big selling point for this upgrade of the software is it's going to integrate a lot of what it couldn't before. In other words, if you have, let's say, an Apple device or a Google Assistant device, or whatever the case may be, a lot of that's going to get integrated.
Sorry, I didn't understand, but I found something similar. Do you want to know what is the meaning of whatever the case may be?
No. Sorry, my Google Mini went off. But anyway, it's supposed to integrate all these things that were used to be utilized separately with the devices that they're associated with, and they're going to be basically paired together in one big team, not separate teams, to where, okay, you want to go to the Microsoft Store or the Google Play Store or the Apple Store, and you want to download a lot of these things onto your computer separately. Apparently, Windows 11 is going to allow you to have all of that without that hassle. One of the things they said in the article that I read is it's going to have a Mac-like look to it after it's been uploaded, integrated, I should say, uploaded or integrated into the computers and the laptops later this year, if not next year. It's going to have a Mac-like look to it. It's going to feel more, I guess, more improved is the best word I can say, I can give it. It's going to be improved. Everything's going to be better, apparently. But we'll see. We'll have to see, because if right now during a presentation they have some issues going on, then that's really not a good sign for Microsoft in the long run. It's not a good sign for them. So if I'm Microsoft and I really want to prove that I've learned my lesson all across my, multimedia platform, that I hold off. If I can't get any of the bugs or anything, worked out, that's just my dog waking up. My Google Mini woke her up. But she's fine. She's waking up there. But anyway, like I was saying, if I'm Microsoft and I want to prove, hey, I've learned my lesson, with all my multimedia devices across the board. If I'm Microsoft and I want to prove that I've learned my lesson, and the bugs, like I said earlier, are not worked out by the holiday season, or at least close to that time period, if I'm in their shoes, I come out and I announce that we're going to delay the release of Windows 11. And, we're going to delay the release, we're going to delay the free upgrade, we're going to do all that until at least early to mid 2022, or at least early to spring 2022. So that way, it gives them extra time to work out all the issues, all the bugs. And in that way, once it gets released, people shouldn't have any problems, whatsoever. It's kind of like, CD Projekt Red, if you will. And had CD Projekt spent more time on Cyberpunk 2077, had they spent more time on it, if you will, to make sure there was no issues, no bugs, and not be in a hurry to rush it out, especially during an era like the pandemic, then I guarantee you, had they maybe waited to this year, made sure everything was worked out, and released it on all multi-platforms that it was going to be on, there would be no issue. There would be no bugs. There would be no hacks, nothing. There would be no issues because they would have had plenty of time to work them out. But no, they wanted to rush it out last year when they shouldn't have done that. And that was a mistake on their part, and now they are paying for it by basically having to update and update in a big way, major way, if you will, almost constantly Cyberpunk. They got to keep doing it. They got to keep upgrading it. They got to keep patching it up. They got to work out all the bugs that should have been worked out beforehand. And to me, had they held off a couple of months, at least until the beginning of this year or the spring of this year, things, in my opinion, would have been a different story. And I believe that's what Microsoft needs to do. They need to see what CD Projekt Red did with Cyberpunk, and some of these other companies have done with their softwares and games, and whatever the case may be, and be like, you know what? We don't want to make that mistake. Let's make sure we get all the bugs worked out, and if we can't get them worked out by the holiday season, let's hold off until early. Early 2022, spring 2022, before we officially release it, so that way we have everything, all the issues worked out. I would do that if I'm Microsoft, and hopefully they're thinking about it. But yeah, this new upgrade of the Windows software is supposed to do a lot more. It's supposed to integrate a lot of the things that I've mentioned. Apple, Apple Mac, the Apple Mac stuff, the Google stuff, and including their own. They're supposed to mix them all together in one conglomerate to make it easier for people to utilize those softwares without having to, as they put it, separate them into separate teams by downloading them individually. So Microsoft has, between now and the holiday season, like I said, to work out these issues that became present in front of everybody during the presentation. What was it, yesterday? By the time you watch this, because now it's about a very early Friday morning. So if I'm Microsoft, I look at the fact that I have from the presentation to the holiday season to get on it and make sure that there are no bugs or anything whatsoever in Windows 11. Because if I'm going to integrate it if I'm going to allow it, I should say, to be integrated free upgraded into a lot of established Windows 10 users or people that have Windows 10s on their PCs or their laptops, if I'm going to allow that to happen, as well as make it compatible with the Xbox One, the Xbox Series X and S. If I'm going to do that, I want to make sure there's no issues whatsoever. Because here's the thing, when Windows 10 came out, there were issues, and over time, yes, they did finally work them out, but there are still some issues in between here and there. One of the biggest issues, like I mentioned at the beginning, that myself, people like Pat Contra and many others have, is the fact that Windows 10 likes to constantly load. Yes, it does stop after it does its loading, its initial loading, but once in a while it'll start back up, and sometimes it'll start back up by loading updates unbeknownst to you, even if you have the update option paused to a further date. Or it'll start loading because it's basically working and doing a virus scan, and it's not letting you know it's doing that until it's done. So if there's one major bug that they need to work out with 10 before it initially gets overtaken by 11, is they need to work out the constant loading issue and allow people to have the option to pause that as well, along with pausing the loading of updates for a future time period. I said it best, if you are so persistent in people having the updates, which, look, I agree, they are necessary at times. If you are persistent, if you're Microsoft and you're persistent for people to have these updates, then why don't you just get rid of the pause update? Why don't you get rid of the pause option so people have no choice but to download these updates? You see what I'm saying? It would make it a lot easier for you, or for them, and for the consumer if they did that. Then the consumer will be like, okay, I just gotta wait until this loads up and everything. Waste, as what Pat said when he answered my question, basically waste, 10 minutes of my life I'm not going to get back, or 10 minutes, 20 minutes of my life I'm not going to get back that I could have been utilizing working on projects or working on stuff on my computer or my laptop, all because, this thing has to update. And if you're not going to allow people to have that pause option or feature live up to what it's supposed to, for as long as they want it paused, then why have it? So hopefully they improve on that, so that even when you pause the updates, it also pauses any potential loading in the future, unless you allow it to happen, unless you call it to happen, unless you choose the option to make it happen in case something seems a little weird. So again, Microsoft has a lot to work on between now and the holiday season, and maybe even afterwards, when it comes to Windows 11, if they don't want it to be released to the public, free or not, with a lot of bugs attached to it, as seen during the presentation. So Microsoft, I wish you all the best. I wish you all the best in the world in getting this working and running properly, because believe me, you screw up on this, and there's going to be people, knocking down your door, calling, for lawsuits, calling for refunds, asking you to basically give them new computers, stuff like that, because your new Windows software or upgrade killed theirs. And I don't think you want that whatsoever. I know I wouldn't if I was you. So, I wish you all the best. God be with you when you work on this update between now and the holiday season. And hopefully by the time you get it out during the holiday season, you will have the issues worked out. And if not, hopefully you'll realize, and I think you are, that maybe you're going to have to hold back until at least early 2022 to spring 2022, in my opinion, to release it to the public, or allow it to be a free upgrade to the consumers that already have Windows 10. So yeah, I'll provide a link down below here so you guys can check it out for yourself. Now the obvious question I'm sure a lot of people have is, with Windows 11 coming, coming down the path in the next 6 months, 5 to 6 months, maybe even 12 months, if you will. I wouldn't say 12 months, I would say 6, 7, 8, 9 months, say 6 to 9 months, from a time perspective, I'm sure the one question a lot of people have is what's going to happen to Windows 10. Is it going to go away? Is it, going to be gone, from Microsoft? Are they going to get rid of it? Not necessarily, because right now they're saying it's a free upgrade. Now, if there's one thing I can give Microsoft credit for, is they will give you the option at first to do the free upgrade if you choose to do so, or hold off on it if you hear any like negative response. Like, let's say it does get released but there's still some issues, they're going to give you the option to hold off on it until at least those issues are fixed. So I'll give them that. And what that means is Windows 10 will not be gone. It will not be removed from the equation just yet, because to me, I think what's going to happen is the same thing that happened when Windows 10 came around. Windows 7 and Windows 8.1, they were still in existence. People still utilized them because Windows 10 had some issues, but over time, as I mentioned, those issues got worked out. And as those issues got worked out, some of the previous Windows software before it, was taken away. Like Windows, 8.1, it's been slowly removed, or has been, and currently is being slowly phased out. Same with Windows 7, it's on its last legs. Windows Vista, I think, was even here when Windows 10 was around, and even Windows XP. And those, over time, once the issues and everything with Windows 10 were worked out to a point that, okay, these weren't really necessary that much, those were slowly phased out. So to me, Windows 10, it's still going to be around even when Windows 11 shows up, along with something like a Windows 8.1, I believe, if it still exists, which I think it does. These will still be around until any kind of any kind of buggy issue or something with Windows 11 is worked out. But like I said, if I'm Microsoft and I want to make sure Windows 11 is the premier software people will want, or we want people to have to upgrade their systems with, the PCs and the laptops and notebooks with, then basically what I do is I make sure not only are all the bugs gone, but I test it out before I do so. And like I said, if there's any issues between this time frame, or between now and the holiday season, to where it shows I may not reach the holiday season release date, then if I'm Microsoft, as I mentioned, I come out and I say, hey, we're going to hold off till we're going to hold off till between early 2022 and spring 2022 to release Windows 11 properly. But yeah, Windows 11 is coming, guys, and right now it's not starting out very well, especially for those at Microsoft that are presenting it for the first time. So God be with them, that they can get this worked out in time for the holiday season release date that they want. And if not, hopefully they have enough sense to hold off until at least early 2022 to spring 2022 to release it, so it gives them extra time to work out all the issues that might arise during these next several months, and especially close to their scheduled release date of the holiday season that they want to release this Windows software during. But let me know what you guys think. What are your thoughts on Windows 11? Do you think this might be what Microsoft needs to really be like, hey, we're back, we hear you, we're listening to you? And do you think they'll reach the holiday season goal, or do you think they're going to have to hold off till 2022, at least the early to spring portion of 2022? Let me know down below, comment if you like, and I'll talk to y'all later.